Alright, good morning YouTube. In today's video, I'm starting a new series where I give you some of my best tips for bodybuilding. And in today's video, I'm going to be telling you that form and technique matter more than the exercises you are doing. So what does that mean? You can build your pecs with the bench press. You can build your pecs with dumbbell benching. You can do it with hammer chest press. You can select any exercise you want, but so long as they are stimulative and keep you safe, the exercise selection itself doesn't really matter all that much. But what does matter will always be your form and technique. So, something I need to admit to you guys right now is that for the past 2 years, I was wrong, or I was at least selling you an idea that was a little bit incomplete, potentially inaccurate, and maybe even a little inappropriate, where I've been telling you that consistency and effort are all that matters. And while I still stand by this statement, the reason why I want to make this amendment is that I took good technique and good form as a given, or I took it for granted. I always thought that to have good effort, you need to have good technique. But I never really explained what good technique is or what it means, and that's something I want to kind of correct today. When you undervalue or you take those certain things for granted, you can kind of get into a habit of ignoring how important those things are. And when it comes to the exercise that I cited to you, like the bench press, the chest press, dumbbell benching, or anything of that nature, you can build a great set of muscles with any of these exercises, any of these implements, but how you perform an exercise matters. When I talk about rep quality, I'm talking about not only your proximity to failure, but also how you get there, the quality of reps, the technique you are using to get to failure or get to that point. All of that matters for your goal, whether that's hypertrophy or that's strength. If you want to build your muscles, you need to make sure that you are not using any type of mechanical advantage that takes training stress away from the target muscle. If you are doing zero range of motion bench pressing before that was outlawed or whatever, I'm not a competitive power lifter, so I'm not super in the know. But if you are simply crashing the bar down and bouncing it off your chest just to say you lifted a bigger number and you are hoping that that is going to build you muscle, you are wrong. If you are taking the widest stance, low bar squat, and your hope and dream is that that's going to build you a big set of quads because you're able to lift a shit ton of weight with that form, you are also in the wrong. You are robbing yourself of the results that you are looking for because your method does not match your goal. Technique matters. I want you to fully understand that. Now, there are a lot better channels and a lot better people who can break that down, and I can make a little bit of a playlist as far as some of my favorite videos that can kind of go into this topic, but you need to really understand what good technique looks like and how it relates to your goal. If you are trying to build your chest, you shouldn't be looking at, if you are trying to build your chest with the bench press, you shouldn't be looking at form videos from powerlifters who are trying to get the most weight on the bar. You should go to the people who are more bodybuilder focused. Maybe they use a smaller arch. They keep their grip a little bit closer inward. They're making sure to tuck their arms a little bit more to their side. At least that's how I understand it. And same thing goes with all the other lifts, squats, deadlifts. I do think that if you are deadlifting and you are doing it with a hypertrophy goal in mind, you should stick mainly to conventional or its close variations like stiff leg deadlifts or Romanian deadlifts. And you should really learn what good form on those exercises means. But then I also want to talk about isolation exercises. Good technique on isolation often gets chopped up to perfect form on isolations. If you use any type of body English at all, and this does apply to compounds as well, but if you use any type of body English at all, or if you are slightly out of position, many people are far too quick to say that's bad form because it doesn't look like what you would see in a textbook, or it doesn't look like something that you would be entirely clean or beautiful. And one way I like to contextualize this, because it's just how my brain works, given my martial arts and boxing background, is that in fighting, so many people on the internet are armchair experts when they look at someone's training footage and they're just like, his hand comes down when he jabs, his shoulder doesn't cover his chin when he punches, like the way he rolls is wrong, he's not moving his feet when he rolls. And I just want to say, shut the hell up, because here's the thing. Here's my challenge to you. I want you to watch a top level UFC fight. I want you to watch a top level championship boxing round or boxing match, and you'll notice that some of these guys don't have perfect technique, but it works for them. If it works, it's good technique. And that can be more true than on isolations, because too many people are just like, well, your arms are a little bit off, you're using a little bit too much body English. But here's the thing, it's working for them. If someone is jacked, stacked, and is getting a lot out of an exercise with whatever form they're using, I won't question it. But the thing is, if someone is small, weak, but for whatever reason they're able to lift a surplus of weight on an exercise, I would correct them if they were my client, because they are just trying to move weight around, but they're not actually getting the results they're looking for. It's not working for them, so that's why it's wrong. But for someone who is growing, for someone who is making progress, even if their form isn't perfect, because it's working, it's right. That's the big difference here. Same thing with things like even the barbell row. You don't need to have a perfect row where it's like super strict all the time. That's why I kind of like how strict you keep an exercise, almost as if it's a different exercise completely, like a different variation. Like calling it a strict row the same way we call something a strict press. Now, this doesn't apply to some lifts like a deadlift. There's no such thing as a cheat deadlift except for sumo. But when it comes to certain exercises, a little bit of body English doesn't hurt, makes it a different exercise that you can make a lot of progress with. So if you are a new lifter, the reason why we care about your form so much and why we try to give you pointers on having good technique is because what you're doing is currently not working, and what you're currently doing likely won't work for you right now because you have very little understanding of why it's wrong. And the reason why bad form works really well for some advanced lifters is because they understand how they can make that bad form work for them. Beginners can't do that. That's why when they hire a coach, when they hire a trainer, we provide them a set of rules or guidelines to kind of mold them into that way. But if it works, it's good. Beginners don't know what's good, and they definitely aren't doing what's working most of the time, so that's why it's wrong. But that doesn't mean that they need to go so far onto the other end and just be always perfect for it to be valuable. Remember, if your form keeps you safe, keeps you making progress, keeps you growing, that is how you should be training. Don't listen to anyone who will say, oh, that's not the best way to do things. Like, what do they know about yourself? Learn about yourself. As long as it keeps you safe and keeps you progressing, I will give it my stamp of approval, because too many people nowadays are too preoccupied with having form that looks pretty. And one thing that I will say is this: I would much rather be the heavyweight champion of the world with questionable technique than to be some armchair specialist who has the most perfect looking jab, the most perfect looking cross. Which one would you rather be? The guy who's sitting on his ass, who hasn't really accomplished anything but can take pride in how pristine his form is, or someone who can do what he's expected to do and put things together in a way that is actually beneficial, that culminates into something like a championship prize? I would hope that you would answer the latter. So that's my video for today. Form and technique matter way more than exercise you choose. Make sure the way that you do your exercises is actually benefiting your goal. And if those things are keeping you safe and you're keeping you progressing, that is all that matters. And stop listening to people who tell you otherwise. Don't be insecure. Don't be like, if you want to bash me in the comments, bash me in the comments. Let's have a discussion about this, because I just think too many people nowadays are too focused on perfect everything, perfect form, perfect programming, perfect all this, that they are robbing themselves of just being able to do good enough and making good progress. So this is a little off the cuff for me, not too fully thought out, as these are just basic tips and ideas. So hope you found it useful. If you have, I have a lot more on the way. I look forward to sharing these ideas with you, and let's get a discussion going in the comments. Roast me if you want to, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.